The dark side of space was calm, but calmness often hid danger. The alien fleet known as the Varan moved silently through the void. Their hunter ships, black and sharp like blades, formed a wide circle around a distant human colony. The colony was small, resting on the edge of a star system, far from the core worlds of humanity. To the Varan, it looked weak, undefended, and ready for conquest. The Varan had done this many times before. They came from a world where strength meant survival, and weakness invited death. Their ships were not made for building or protecting. They were made for hunting. In their long history, they had crushed smaller races, forcing them to serve or vanish. When they first heard about humans, they thought of them as just another target. To them, humans were only prey waiting to be caught. The Varan commander stood in the main control room of his flagship. He looked at the display of the colony below. Lights shone from the cities, but there were no warships, no large fleets rushing to defend the place. The commander felt certain that victory was already his. He ordered the hunter ships to tighten the circle, cutting off any chance of escape. The humans inside the colony could not send a signal to call for help, for the Varan were jamming all communication. The alien crew whispered among themselves. Some expected the humans to panic. Some expected cries of surrender. But strangely, the humans stayed quiet. Their ships remained docked, their weapons silent. It was almost as if they did not fear the circle of hunter ships above them. This silence unsettled some of the Varan, but they kept their thoughts hidden. They were hunters, and hunters were not supposed to feel fear. Hours passed, and still nothing happened. The Varan grew impatient. The commander laughed at the thought that humans might be too foolish to even understand the danger they faced. He ordered scouting drones to move closer, to scan the human colony and test its defenses. The drones flew through the void like small sparks of light, recording every movement below. Minutes later, something strange occurred. One by one, the signals from the drones vanished. At first the commander thought it was a mistake in the system. But soon it became clear, the drones were being destroyed. The feeds showed only brief flashes, a sharp strike, then silence. Whoever struck them did so with great skill, leaving no clear trace. The Varan officers exchanged nervous glances, though they spoke no words. The commander tried to remain calm. He told himself that humans must have hidden guns on the planet, and that these weapons had taken out the drones. Yet deep inside, he felt a small unease. If humans truly had such weapons, why had they not fired earlier? Why had they waited? It seemed almost as if the humans were watching, studying, and waiting for the perfect time to strike. The hunter ships continued to circle, but the silence of the colony now felt heavy, almost like a trap. The alien crew sat at their stations, checking every sensor, searching for signs of hidden danger. But the more they searched, the more empty the void seemed. Only the destroyed drones told them that something out there was moving, unseen. Night passed on the planet below. From the colony's surface, people looked up and saw faint glimmers of the hunter ships crossing the sky. But instead of fear, there was a quiet determination in their eyes. They trusted that someone, somewhere, was watching over them. The Varan could not understand this human calmness, but it was a calmness born from history. Humanity had faced storms, wars, and disasters before. They were not a species that surrendered easily. The Varan commander, still certain of victory, decided to wait no longer. He prepared his ships for the first strike. The hunters would descend at dawn, destroy the defenses, and take control of the colony. He promised his crew that the humans would fall quickly, as all prey always did. But as his words echoed through the control room, not all his crew shared his confidence. Some remembered the destroyed drones. Some remembered the strange silence of the colony. And in the dark space beyond their sensors, something else was moving. Something fast. Something patient. Something human. The hunter ships tightened the circle even more, but none of them realized that the circle was no longer theirs to control. It was becoming a cage. A cage waiting to close, not around humans, but around the hunters themselves. The Varan hunter ships circled the human colony with growing unease. The circle looked strong, but inside their minds, questions started to rise. The destruction of the scouting drones had unsettled them. Nothing in the human colony showed the kind of firepower that could strike drones so cleanly. The sensors detected no large warships, no planetary cannons, no signs of hidden fleets. Yet the drones had vanished, one after another, without warning. The Varan commander tried to show confidence in front of his crew. He told them that the drones were likely destroyed by simple human defenses, perhaps old missiles or outdated turrets. But many of the alien officers remained silent, their eyes fixed on the dark screens. They knew what clean precision looked like, and this was not the work of random old weapons. It was the work of something trained, something skilled, and something that chose each moment carefully. The hunter ships tightened their circle again. Their movements created a wall of steel around the planet. No ship could enter, no signal could escape. The Varan felt safer in numbers, but numbers did not erase fear. Each hunter ship watched the shadows, searching for a threat they could not see. Suddenly, a small patrol of Varan ships reported strange readings. Something flickered on their sensors for only a second, then vanished. At first, they thought it was a mistake, a glitch in the system. But the flicker appeared again, closer this time. The patrol commander ordered his crew to scan harder, to push the sensors to full power. Still, nothing clear appeared, only a brief shape moving and then fading into the black of space. The crew grew tense. The Varan were hunters by nature, used to chasing weaker prey, used to being the ones who struck fear. Now, for the first time, they felt the same fear in return. The silence of the human colony no longer looked like weakness. It looked like patience. It looked like a trap being set with care. The Varan commander dismissed the patrol's warning. He told them to stay alert but not to imagine ghosts in the dark. He reminded them that humans were still a young species compared to the great powers of the galaxy. They had only begun to reach for the stars. How could such a people be a danger to the Varan, who had conquered dozens of worlds before? His words sounded strong, but in his heart, he remembered the destroyed drones, and he wondered if perhaps his crew's fears were not foolish after all. Hours passed. The hunter ships remained in place, their engines humming, their weapons ready. Yet the strange flickers continued. One ship reported a signal like a shadow moving across its radar. Another claimed it saw a faint flash, like a ship firing a short burst of thrusters before vanishing again. The Varan grew restless, and whispers spread among the lower ranks. They began to speak of an invisible hunter, a human craft that moved in silence, striking only when it wished. To break the tension, the commander ordered a demonstration of power. Several Varan ships fired on an empty patch of space near the colony, filling the void with fire and explosions. The crews cheered, trying to convince themselves that nothing could survive against such power. But when the fire cleared, the empty patch of space remained silent, untouched, as if mocking their efforts. The fear returned stronger than before. On the surface of the colony, humans watched the flashes in the sky. They did not know the full details of what was happening above, but they trusted. Their leaders had told them that help was on the way. Their soldiers had told them that humanity was never alone. And so the people waited calmly, believing that when the moment came, the hunters above would regret their arrogance. In the void, the Varan patrol ships grew more nervous. Then came the first real sign of danger. One patrol ship suddenly went silent. No distress call, no warning, only silence. Another patrol ship tried to move closer to investigate, but before it arrived, its systems failed too. Two ships gone in minutes, and still no clear sight of the enemy. The commander ordered the fleet to tighten the circle once more, but by now the circle felt more like a cage. Every hunter ship felt the weight of unseen eyes watching them. They began to move slower, more careful, as if expecting an attack at any second. The hunters were starting to feel like prey. Night turned into dawn on the colony below, but in the void above, the tension only grew heavier. The Varan ships were restless, scanning and searching, but the shadows offered no answers. Somewhere out there, something human was moving. Something was waiting for the right moment to strike. And though the Varan still held the skies, their confidence was breaking piece by piece. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the hunters did not feel in control. They felt the cold taste of being hunted. The Varan commander stood tall inside his flagship, his eyes fixed on the screens around him. His fleet still circled the human colony, but the tension was heavy. 2 patrol ships had gone silent without warning, and their wreckage could not be found. The commander told himself it was not possible for humans to fight like this. He reminded his crew that humans were young, that they had little experience in the deeper stars. Yet deep inside, even he felt the weight of something unseen moving through the dark. Then it happened. A single signal appeared at the edge of the blockade. The Varan sensors locked onto it, showing the outline of a small human vessel. It was not large like a battleship. It was not even close in size to a Varan hunter ship. To the Varan, it looked fragile, small, and weak. Laughter spread through the alien crews. Some said the humans must be desperate to send such a small craft against them. Others said it would be destroyed in minutes. The commander ordered all nearby hunter ships to focus fire on the lone vessel. Energy beams and plasma blasts lit the void as the Varan unleashed their strength. But then something unexpected occurred. The small human vessel moved. It did not move like any ship the Varan had ever seen. Instead of flying straight, it twisted and spun in ways that seemed impossible. The weapons that should have destroyed it missed by wide margins. The human ship darted forward, slid between beams, and rolled past explosions as if it danced with the stars themselves. Shock spread among the Varan. The laughter stopped. The hunters who once felt confident now shouted in alarm. The human ship opened fire, not with heavy blasts, but with sharp and precise strikes. One Varan ship took a hit in its engine and fell silent. Another was pierced clean through its hull, sparks spilling into space. Within minutes, 2 hunter ships were gone. The commander slammed his hand on the controls, ordering more ships to join the attack. The human vessel still danced through the chaos, weaving between fire as though it already knew where each shot would land. The alien hunters, trained to fight prey that panicked and ran, had never faced such skill before. Their formation began to break, ships scattering in confusion as they tried to surround the target. The human ship used this confusion to its advantage. It pulled the hunters apart, luring them to chase, then striking when they left an opening. Every shot from the small craft hit with purpose. Engines were disabled, weapons silenced, shields broken. It was as if the human pilot knew exactly where to strike each time. Fear began to spread through the Varan fleet. They had come believing humans were prey, but this one ship alone was turning the balance of power. Whispers filled the comms as crews asked how such a small craft could defeat hunters built for war. Some began to wonder if more hidden ships waited nearby, ready to join the fight. The silence of the human colony below no longer felt weak. It felt strong, patient, and full of purpose. On the surface of the colony, people gathered in the open fields and rooftops. They watched streaks of light across the sky as the battle raged above. They could not see the details, but they knew. They knew that someone up there was fighting for them, someone human. Hope spread through the colony like fire, and the fear that had once gripped them was replaced with courage. Back in orbit, the Varan commander grew furious. He ordered the hunters to regroup, to crush the human vessel with sheer numbers. But every time they tried to trap it, the ship slipped through like smoke. It struck from behind, then vanished. It attacked from below, then disappeared into the void. The commander realized that this was no ordinary vessel. It was built for hunting, just like their own ships, but it was faster, sharper, and guided by skill that his fleet could not match. At last, the commander gave a command he never thought he would speak. He ordered his fleet to fall back from the human vessel and reform the circle around the colony. He told himself this was not retreat but strategy. Yet every hunter in the fleet knew the truth. The first battle had begun, and the hunters had lost. The human ship floated at the edge of the circle, weapons still glowing, engine steady. It did not chase the Varan as they pulled away. Instead, it hovered like a predator, patient and watchful, waiting for the next move. The message was clear. Humans were not prey. They were hunters too, and the true hunt had only just begun. The Varan crew sat in silence, their hearts shaken. For the first time in their lives, they understood fear not from weakness, but from power greater than their own. The first strike had been made, and it was not theirs. It belonged to the humans. The Varan fleet tried to recover from the shock of the first strike, but the damage was done. Their circle around the human colony was broken, and their confidence had been shaken. The small human ship still hovered at the edge of their formation like a shadow that refused to leave. Its presence alone filled the alien crews with unease. They had expected humans to be weak, yet one vessel had shown the skill of an entire fleet. The Varan commander stood in silence, his hands gripping the controls tightly. He told his officers to restore order, to form the circle again, but it was not easy. Each hunter ship now moved with hesitation. The fear of another sudden attack weighed heavily on every crew. Their eyes stayed locked on the sensors, waiting for the human craft to strike again. Then, more signals appeared. At first, they were faint, almost invisible, like ghosts in the dark. But soon the truth became clear. The lone human vessel had not been alone. Stealth ships, hidden until now, revealed themselves one by one. They were small like the first ship, but they carried the same speed, the same deadly precision. The humans had been patient, watching and waiting, and now their hunters had arrived. Panic spread across the Varan fleet. Some ships opened fire at once, filling the void with wild blasts of energy. But the human hunters did not fight head-on. They darted between the shots, striking from the sides and vanishing into the blackness. Their weapons tore through engines, disabling ships without wasting fire. One Varan vessel after another fell silent, drifting powerless in the void. The circle of hunter ships began to collapse. The Varan had come to trap the colony, but now they were the ones trapped. Every move they made only brought another strike from the humans. It was as if the humans had studied their tactics, learned their weaknesses, and turned them against them. The Varan were skilled hunters, but against these humans, they were like prey caught in their own net. The commander shouted orders, trying to restore control, but the chaos only grew. One squad of hunters broke formation, hoping to escape into open space, but they were quickly intercepted. Human ships closed in, striking with perfect aim, until nothing was left but burning wreckage. Another squad tried to rush the colony, thinking the planet might still be weak, but hidden defense guns on the surface lit up the sky, forcing them to retreat. The Varan crews began to realize the truth. This was not a simple colony waiting to be conquered. This was a colony prepared for war. And this was not a human fleet running in fear. This was a fleet of hunters, fighting with patience, discipline, and unmatched resolve. Above the colony, the battle turned in favor of the humans. The Varan, who had once circled the planet with pride, now moved in scattered paths, no longer sure where to go. Their strength was in numbers, but their numbers meant nothing against enemies who could vanish into the dark and strike without warning. For the first time in their history, the Varan faced an opponent who fought as hunters better than themselves. On the colony below, the people saw flashes in the sky, and they cheered. They knew the hunters had come, not the Varan hunters, but human ones. The fear that once filled their homes was gone, replaced by courage. Parents told their children to look up and remember this day, the day humans turned the tide against those who thought them weak. In the flagship, the Varan commander felt his pride slipping away. He had once believed no prey could escape the Varan, but now he saw his own fleet breaking apart. Each human strike was sharp and clean, never wasted, always perfect. He realized too late that the humans had studied them, had learned their ways, and had used their own hunting style to turn the battle. The humans did not chase recklessly. They did not fire without reason. They struck, disappeared, and struck again, until the Varan had no chance to respond. Every time the commander thought he found an opening, the humans were already gone, waiting for the next moment to strike. The fear in the Varan fleet grew stronger. Their hunters, once proud, now whispered in their ships about survival instead of victory. They spoke of retreat, of running from the humans before none of them remained. But the commander knew retreat would mean shame, a shame that might follow them forever. Still, he could not deny the truth. The humans had turned the battle. What began as a hunt had become a nightmare. The hunters were now the hunted, and their prey had teeth sharper than their own. In the endless dark of space, the human ships closed in tighter. They did not destroy everything at once. They chose carefully, striking only where it mattered most, showing that they controlled the fight. The Varan could only watch as the circle they had built became their prison. The commander finally understood. The silence of the humans had never been weakness. It had been patience. The humans had waited until the moment was right, and when they struck as hunters who never missed. The Varan fleet had come for an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves surrounded, broken, and hunted by the very prey they had underestimated. The Varan fleet drifted in chaos above the human colony. Their once perfect circle had shattered. Ships that had been confident hunters now moved with fear, engines flickering as if uncertain where to go. The humans had shown patience, skill, and control. Every move of the alien fleet had been watched and exploited. The Varan commander clenched his hands on the console, trying to restore order, but he knew deep down that the balance of power had shifted. Then, from the edge of the void, a new presence appeared. A larger human warship moved steadily into view. Unlike the small stealth vessels, this ship was built for command. It was stronger, more imposing, yet still elegant, with clean lines and shining surfaces. Lights from its hull reflected against the stars, and its position immediately drew the attention of the Varan. Sensors locked onto it, and all eyes in the fleet turned to watch. The human warship stopped just outside the broken circle. Its sensors scanned the Varan fleet calmly, steadily, as if measuring every weakness. Then a voice came over the comms. It was clear, calm, and firm. The Varan understood the words, even if they did not fully trust them. Varan fleet. You have circled this planet expecting an easy victory. You have chosen wrong. Humanity does not bow to hunters. We fight to protect our own, and we fight to survive. Leave now, or you will be destroyed. The Varan crews laughed at first, thinking the humans were bluffing. One officer shouted that no single race could threaten the Varan fleet. Another claimed they had faced far greater foes and had won every battle. The commander, however, did not speak. He felt a chill run through him. Something about the calm certainty in the human voice unsettled him. It was not arrogance. It was not fear. It was command. It was power. The human ship moved closer, but with measured steps. It did not rush. It did not fire. Its position alone was enough to remind the Varan of the skill they had already faced. The small human vessels from before had already broken their lines. Now, the command ship reinforced the threat. The message was clear: humans fought with strategy, precision, and patience. They were not reckless, yet they were deadly. One Varan officer whispered to another, asking how one species could be so confident, so skilled. The answer was simple, though frightening. Humans had learned. Humans had adapted. Humans had turned their weaknesses into strengths and their patience into power. The Varan had hunted many worlds, but none like this. None had fought back with such clarity of purpose. The commander finally spoke, his voice heavy with authority. He ordered the fleet to regroup, to attempt a concentrated attack on the large human ship. His words were strong, but they lacked the confidence of a true hunter. Every crew member felt the tension. They knew that another mistake could cost them dearly. Another strike like before, and more ships would fall. The humans did not wait. Their smaller vessels moved again, silent and fast, appearing where the Varan least expected. The large command ship fired warning shots, but never recklessly. It aimed carefully, disabling engines and weapons on key targets. Each strike was precise, leaving the aliens with no chance to retaliate fully. The fleet realized that humans had planned this. Every move, every hidden vessel, every patient strike had been orchestrated to perfection. On the colony below, citizens watched the sky, hoping for the best but trusting in the humans above. They knew the large ship was not just a fighter. It was a symbol of strength, of courage, and of humanity's refusal to be hunted. Children held their parents' hands, and elders whispered stories of times humanity had faced danger before. Now, history was repeating, but this time on a scale that stretched across the stars. The Varan commander looked around at his fleet. Ships were damaged, systems failing, and crew morale falling. He realized that his options were shrinking. He could continue the fight and risk total destruction, or he could retreat and live to fight another day. Pride fought with fear in his mind, but fear was stronger. He finally made the decision. He ordered the fleet to disengage, to pull back from the human vessels and the colony below. As the Varan ships retreated, the humans did not chase. They allowed the alien fleet to leave, knowing that victory was more than destruction. It was control, strategy, and patience. The humans had shown that they were not just hunters, they were commanders, planners, and defenders. Their message was clear to all who watched: humanity would fight with wisdom and courage, and any who underestimated them would face consequences. The first true human command had arrived in the void. The Varan would remember it. Across the galaxy, whispers would spread about the species that had turned hunters into the hunted. And in the human fleet, the ships moved in calm formation, ready for whatever came next, confident that the spirit of humanity was stronger than any enemy in the stars. The Varan fleet had begun to pull back, but the humans were far from finished. Their patience had been tested, and now the hunters were ready to strike with full precision. The small human ships moved through the void like shadows, unseen until it was too late. They circled the retreating Varan, waiting for the moment when the enemy would make a mistake. The hunter had become the hunted, and the humans knew exactly how to use the advantage. The Varan commander tried to hold control of his fleet. He barked orders for the ships to maintain formation, to protect the damaged vessels, and to regroup. The alien hunters had fought many battles, but they had never faced an enemy that could predict their moves so perfectly. Every maneuver the Varan made seemed to have been anticipated. Every strike from the human ships was precise and effective. Suddenly, a small group of human fighters appeared from above, invisible until they struck. They targeted the engines of a Varan squad, cutting power and leaving the ships adrift. Another group attacked the weapons systems of a nearby vessel, disabling its cannons with surgical precision. The Varan fired blindly, but their shots missed every time. The humans did not rush. They struck, retreated, and struck again, wearing down the alien fleet without wasting energy or resources. Panic began to spread among the Varan crews. Ships that had once moved with confidence now faltered. The smaller hunters tried to escape, but human vessels intercepted them. The sky, once dominated by the Varan, now belonged to humans. The humans had learned how the Varan hunted. They understood their strategies and weaknesses, and they were using them against the aliens in every possible way. From the flagship of the human fleet, the commander watched carefully. He did not rush the attack. He waited for the perfect moment when the Varan would be most vulnerable. He knew that attacking too soon could give the hunters a chance to regroup. The humans had patience, skill, and discipline on their side, and they would not waste it. The Varan commander realized too late that the humans were not just defending, they were leading the fight. Every small strike from the human ships broke the alien formation further. One by one, engines failed, weapons went silent, and shields collapsed. The circle of the hunters, once strong and proud, began to break apart completely. In the chaos, the human stealth fighters struck again. They moved silently, appearing where the Varan least expected them. They disabled critical systems, leaving ships adrift and helpless. The humans never attacked all at once. They chose targets carefully, ensuring maximum effect with minimum risk. The Varan, who had once prided themselves on strategy, found themselves powerless against precision and patience. The colony below watched the sky, seeing the flashes of fire and light as the battle raged. Citizens cheered quietly, knowing that the humans above were turning the tide. They had trusted in their hunters, and the hunters had not failed. The battle was no longer about survival, it was about proving that humans could face any challenge, even the fiercest hunters in the galaxy. On the Varan flagship, fear spread like wildfire. Officers shouted orders, but confusion made the commands useless. Ships moved in different directions, colliding, retreating, and trying to escape the inevitable. The humans controlled the void. They decided when and where to strike. The Varan fleet, once the predator, had become the prey. Finally, the human commander saw the perfect moment. The Varan fleet had become scattered, their strongest ships damaged and isolated. He gave the order for a coordinated strike. Small groups of fighters hit at key points simultaneously. Engines exploded, weapon systems failed, and the remaining hunters were thrown into disarray. The Varan ships had no choice but to retreat further, leaving behind the wreckage of their pride and confidence. As the last of the Varan ships fled, the human fleet maintained formation. They did not pursue recklessly. They held their position, showing that they could control the fight at any moment. The circle was broken, and the humans had proven their skill, patience, and strategy. The Varan commander, once proud of his fleet, now realized the truth. They had underestimated humanity. They had believed humans would be weak, slow, and easy to defeat. Instead, they faced hunters who understood strategy, patience, and precision better than the hunters themselves. In the calm after the battle, the human ships regrouped. Systems were checked, damaged ships were repaired, and the fleet moved in unison. The humans had not just defended their colony, they had shown the galaxy that their spirit was unbreakable. The Varan, who had come seeking an easy victory, had been defeated without the humans ever rushing, without the humans ever showing fear. The hunters had been hunted, and humanity had stood tall, ready for whatever challenges awaited next in the stars. The void above the human colony was quiet for the first time in days. The Varan fleet had retreated, scattered across space, their pride and confidence shattered. Silence filled the skies, but it was not empty. The human ships held formation, engines glowing softly, weapons ready, and sensors scanning for any hidden threats. Every crew member felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that humanity had faced a fearsome enemy and emerged victorious. On the colony below, people looked up at the stars with awe and relief. Families gathered in open fields, children pointing to the faint glimmers of human ships above, and elders whispered that they had never imagined such a display of courage. The humans who had defended them were more than just soldiers, they were guardians, hunters, and symbols of hope. The colony had survived not through luck, but through skill, planning, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. The small human ships that had moved unseen during the battle returned to formation. Each ship had played a vital role in the fight, striking at weak points, disabling engines, and breaking the alien formation. The fleet was not just a collection of ships, it was a team, united by discipline, trust, and courage. The humans had fought with precision, patience, and calm resolve. Every action had been deliberate, every strike effective. The Varen had been powerful, but humanity had been smarter, faster, and stronger in strategy. The flagship commander sent a message to the colony. His voice was calm, confident, and clear. He told the people that the danger had passed for now. He reminded them that humanity's strength was not only in ships and weapons but in unity, courage, and the determination to protect one another. The colony erupted in cheers, but the commander knew that celebrations were not the end. Humanity had proven its strength, but the stars held many challenges. Across the galaxy, the survivors of the Varen fleet carried tales of the humans who had turned the hunters into the hunted. They spoke of patience, skill, and courage that no one had expected. They whispered of a species that, though younger and smaller, fought with wisdom and determination that rivaled the greatest empires. The stories would travel far, warning others not to underestimate humanity. Back in the fleet, the human ships moved in quiet formation above the colony. Repairs began on the damaged ships, and systems were checked to ensure readiness for the next challenge. The crew shared quiet words of encouragement and pride. Each member knew they had been part of something extraordinary. They had faced a superior enemy, and they had not only survived, they had won. The Varen had believed humans would panic, that they would surrender, and that they would be easy prey. But humans had shown something different. They had shown patience in the face of danger, courage when all seemed lost, and intelligence that allowed them to turn the hunters into the hunted. The galaxy had witnessed a lesson in strategy and strength, one that no species would forget. On the planet below, children began to tell stories of the human hunters who had protected their homes. They spoke of ships that moved like shadows, striking only when necessary, and of leaders who commanded without fear. The elders listened and nodded, proud to see the spirit of humanity celebrated in every generation. The colony would remember this day for years, a day when humans proved that even the smallest of colonies could stand against the greatest of hunters. In the quiet of space, the human commander looked toward the stars. He knew that this victory was only the beginning. There would be new threats, larger enemies, and unexpected challenges. But humanity had proven a vital truth: no matter how powerful an enemy seemed, the spirit of humans could not be broken. Patience, strategy, and courage could overcome even the greatest odds. The fleet moved smoothly in formation, engines reflecting faint light across the void. The humans above the colony were ready to defend, ready to explore, and ready to face the future. The galaxy had seen their strength, and humanity had stood tall. No longer were they simply a species among many, they were hunters, protectors, and a force that demanded respect. As the last of the Varen ships disappeared into the distance, the human fleet held its position, a silent promise to the colony below. They would always be ready, always watchful, and always determined. The victory was theirs, not through luck or chance, but through skill, courage, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. The stars were calm again, but the message had been sent. Humanity stood tall, and the galaxy would remember. They were not prey. They were hunters. And no enemy, no matter how great, could ever underestimate them again.